Back for a new year. We've got game reviews, we've got game awards, we've got Game Pass leaks, and we've got news about the upcoming generation of consoles, like the next Xbox and the next PlayStation 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just Because Gaming. My name is Michael,
And I'm Ray.
and thank you for joining us. And before we get into it, we just wanted to say, please hit that subscribe button, do a like, a comment, all the things. We have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast, and we have a Patreon that you can support us through. And also, you can visit the website and support us there too, which is justbecausegaming.com. With all that being said, let's get into it. The first thing we were going to talk about is some of the new releases for Xbox and PlayStation for January. For PlayStation, some of the games that they're getting for PlayStation Plus is the Kill the Justice League game. And I mean, depending on how you feel about that, it's received both good reviews and bad reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. For me personally, since I am a comic book nerd, I personally love it. Anytime where you can get kind of comic booky video games for free, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would try it out. It looks like something worth trying out and seeing. I mean, just for the story. I heard, different things about the gameplay, and like you said, some people liked it, some people, yeah, not so much. But I mean, if it's on something you have a subscription service to, play it. Why not? Try it out for yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen so many like TikToks and YouTube shorts and stuff about, gameplay about it. So I mean, I don't think I've necessarily had stuff ruined for me, but I've seen some scenes from the game and I was like, "Oh man." Because basically, I don't know if you've seen, Ray, about what the game's based off of, but basically the Justice League gets infected. I'm gonna suspect that Brainiac or something is behind it, but basically the Justice League gets infected and they become like just horrible, like monsterish uh characters of themselves, and it's actually up to the Suicide Squad to try to stop them, and they are violent, so they go to kill the Justice League, hence the name.
Of course.
The next game that PlayStation has coming on its PlayStation Plus platform is the Stanley Parable, and that's basically a game. I don't know if you've seen this, Ray, where it's a first person game, and there's a narrator telling you where to go, and I mean you can like listen to the narrator and do what you're told. Again, this is one of those games that there's TikToks and YouTubes about it where you do the opposite of what the narrator says, and then he starts getting mad at you. In fact, there's one where I've seen a TikTok about it, and it's one where you just go into a room with nothing in it. And he even remarks about how there's nothing going on with that room, and you just stay there. And he's like, "Okay, let's go." You just stay there. If you stay there, do nothing, he will like panic. He'll be like, "Come on, there's more to do." So
That's pretty good. I like that.
yeah, and yeah, it's an interesting game. I might end up getting that just for the giggles of it. And then lastly on the list that I've seen for games coming to PlayStation Plus is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and I'm sorry, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. And from everything I've seen for it, it looks gorgeous. But I mean, most Need for Speed and Forza, most racing games, that's one of the things they focus on is just the visual aspects of it. And yeah, this game looks gorgeous. One day I'm gonna get a whole racing setup with the steering wheel and with the pedals and stuff, and like I'll have panoramic monitors, and I'll do the whole thing. But I haven't done that yet. But yeah, it looks like it could definitely be a really fun immersive experience. And for Microsoft Game Pass, they've actually have a couple games coming to them. One is a game called Carrion, which I'm not familiar with. I've just seen some images of, so I mean I can't really say anything. Another one is Road 96, and then it's going to have 3 games that are day one releases, and those are also coming this month, January. One is Eternal Strands, another one is Citizen Sleeper 2, and the last one, and my personal favorite, is Sniper Elite Resistance. For me, I love the Sniper Elite series, and it's just something about that when you shoot a perfect shot and it follows the bullet to wherever you're showing, and then it goes into the X-ray mode, and you can see when it's going into like a vital organ, and it shows like a kidney exploding or like into their eye and the eyeball goo like exploding and stuff. It's gory, but it's fun. I mean, you can definitely get numb to it after a while if you keep seeing X-ray mode. But what I typically would do is I will focus on, I think, like one level a day, so that way I don't get kind of numb to it. I won't go through and like binge the entire game in like a day or two. I'll just take it little by little, one day at a time, and
Right.
that way I get to stretch out the gameplay and enjoy it over a period of time, and it doesn't get old. You know,
Plus, the levels in those are usually pretty extensive, and it's a lot of stealth. So, I mean, it takes a while if you do it real stealthily to go through an entire level of a sniper game. You and I have played most of those co-op, so hopefully we can do that with this one because those games are just so much fun in co-op.
yeah, yeah. Plus,
You'll be on your mic and I'll be over here and be like, "Okay, I got the guy on the left, you get the guy on the right," and one of us will miss.
but yeah, those are the games that are coming to both PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass for January.
Cool. Of course, already out on Game Pass, you've got Stalker 2, which is one of their most recent new releases, which of course we didn't get to talk about when it first came out, but we've talked about that game before and how it was being made over in Ukraine and all the troubles they had with making this game. They had a good documentary on it. Again, I recommend watching that if you get the chance. But the game itself, now that I've gotten my hands on it, very good game. Um, it does play kind of like Metro or something like that, but it's got its own unique feel to it. You're looking for like artifacts. It's got a very open world where you can pretty much go where you want to go with a little bit of guidance here and there. You've got a main camp where you can go back to and sell supplies. The biggest complaint about that is you can only carry so much weight, and like you want to go out there and search and bring all this stuff back to sell so you can upgrade your equipment, and you can only carry so much back. And I also found that if the equipment is like extremely broken, don't even bother carrying it because you can't even sell the really broken equipment. You'd have to go repair it first, which costs money, and then it's not worth it.
Mhm.
You die a lot in this game. Just expect it. Even on the easiest setting, you're going to die. It's not forgiving at all. And the critters, the mutants and things in this game are just brutal. I mean, even the littlest rat thing, you're like going, why is this killing me? Why am I dead now? I don't understand. But it's good.
Giving
I've
me
really enjoyed it. It's a lot of exploration, a lot of just an interesting environment, and then you've got the environment itself trying to kill you. You'll just walk in, and sometimes it's just like a random, oh, there's a little swirl of leaves over here, like the wind's blowing, and you'll walk into this little, I don't know what it is, some kind of phenomenon that all of a sudden you're picked up and it's swirling you around and drops you over here. What happened? How did this happen? Sometimes it'll kill you. It just you don't know what it's going to do. But a very fun, entertaining game, very adventuresome. Going to take some time to play. Another game that's on Game Pass is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now, this is a game that's been anticipated by a lot of people to be coming out. Looking forward to it. I'm finally glad to have gotten my hands on it. I've played, I don't know, pretty far into the game, I think. Everything you could see in the trailers and all that, I've done that much of the game. I'm really enjoying it. Now, if you grew up like I did on the Indiana Jones movies, like the original ones that were good,
yes.
you'll really, really enjoy it. The sound effects, Troy Baker's portrayal of Indiana Jones, because he does the voice, not Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Harrison Ford. He did a great job of this.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I was thinking so because I've seen a lot of videos and I haven't dived into it yet. But yeah, it looks sick and sounds like amazing. Like
Oh yeah,
I honestly thought it was Harrison Ford when I was watching some of the trailers and stuff.
oh yeah. I mean, it's indistinguishable most all the time. The story has been really good. It's a very not just the action of it, but the adventure of it. You're solving really cool puzzles. Not overly difficult, but it's not overly easy either. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna give one example. It's not really a spoiler, but like there's Nazi boxes that are locked sometimes. They're little combination locks, and you got to use stuff around the environment to kind of figure out what it is. And it doesn't give you much in the way of hints. You might find a note or something that has a combination on it, or you might find just something in the environment. There's one. It's like in a laundry room, and the way the combination sequence is laid out
Mm-hmm.
is the stacks of clothes. Oh, there's 8 shirts here. There's 5 pairs of pants. There's whatever, and you kept that up basically. And because I was looking for a clue and could find nothing, it took me forever to figure out. Oh, that's what this is, and it worked. I was like, oh my gosh, I have not used any hints on any of these puzzles so far, and I should. There were a couple where I was like, I really want to be looking for a hint, but I want to figure this out. Took a little time, but I figured most of them out.
It's so funny because I love how games do that because that's so not real life, you know. Like, can you imagine going to going to someone's house and being like, oh, that's weird, they have a wall safe, and then finding like stuff in their room that gives clues to the wall safe. It's like
Right?
that's not how stuff works. Like I don't have I don't have like clues to my little combination locks, although it's mostly for like my gym bag and stuff like that. But I don't have like a clue, to remind me of the thing. It's not like it's like, oh well, here's three bracelets that are here that is a three. No, it's not like that. But it's
Yeah,
it's just a
it's
funny.
weird, but it's cool. I mean, it's a game. You got to make it entertaining, and
Yeah.
it is. It's very entertaining. And like I said, the sound is really good. Like when you hear him punch somebody,
Hmm.
it has that same sound of the impact like they had in the movies. That good thwack of him punching somebody, and the whip's amazing to use too. You can yank a gun out of somebody's hands and all that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that when it comes to like lock codes and stuff like that, some of the more realistic ones I've liked, like I think it was Metal Gear Solid 5 or something like that, where you could interrogate people, like you could sneak up behind them and like grab them in a chokehold, and like have a knife to their throat and like, what's the passcode? And
Yeah,
that's my best impression. What's the passcode? And
you go, Sam Fisher.
no, 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 no. In Metal Gear, it's
Oh,
Solid Snake.
Metal Gear. That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Snake.
You're thinking of
I'm thinking Splinter Cell.
yeah.
But you could do that there too.
Yeah. And yeah. So I like stuff like that. And it's a little bit more realistic and a little sneaky, but I don't know. I can kind of see like Indiana Jones doing that, like beating the crap out of somebody and being like, "What's the code?" You know. But yeah, then again, with Indiana Jones, he's like the more realistic hero where it's like he'll get into a fight and sometimes he might lose.
Yes, and you can. I have lost several fights in Indiana Jones because if you get overwhelmed by the soldiers,
Hmm.
you might as well write it off. You're good, one, two, maybe even three soldiers at a time. You get more than that, and it's too much. And especially if they start shooting.
Yeah. So in Indiana Jones, if you lose a fight, do you still continue, or is it like you're dead and you have to like restart? Or
No, you still continue. It's not a
okay,
rogue type game. You continue from where you last saved,
okay.
and it saves very often. The autosave does, so you're good.
No, I mean what I'm saying is, do you have to like win the fight in order to continue the game, or like can you lose the fight and end up like tied up somewhere, and that's like how the game continues?
Only if that's part of the storyline. I haven't had it like that's not usually what happens. Mostly, if you lose the fight and they kill you, you're dead on the floor, and then it
Yeah,
goes back to your last save.
yeah. No, I was just thinking about like the Indiana Jones movies, where sometimes yes, he does lose a fight and he ends up tied up somewhere, but it just so happens that's where he needs to go.
Yeah, that does happen storyline wise. It has a couple of times so far.
Oh, okay. So speaking about games on Game Pass, um, one of the things that we've heard about recently is Gamepass Leaks. There has been news about two games that are very well loved, and there's rumors that it's coming to Game Pass. One is Diablo 1, the very retro Diablo game that a lot of people grew up playing, and they've been in talks about porting that over to Game Pass, specifically because it's an Activision game, and it's the same thing for the other game as well. It's both related to Activision. One is Diablo 1, and the other one is EA UFC 5, and that's a 2023 release, if I'm correct. And UFC 5 was one of the one of the recent UFC games that just it was amazing out the gate. Has great reviews. People really loved UFC 5, even though it was a game that initially came out in end of 2023. Um, and yeah, so with those two possibly coming to Game Pass, a lot of people are excited because, like I said, those have been very very popular, like very well played games, very well reviewed games, and of course Diablo 1. Like I'm pretty sure I played that when I was younger on like the computers in my school. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people excited about those games, and that's exciting stuff.
A lot of other games that we can get excited about right now, the ones that they've shown some of the trailers for at the Game Awards. Of course, we weren't recording during the time the Game Awards came out, so we kind of missed up on that. So I'm going to touch on a few of the ones that really caught my eye. Of course, it was The Witcher 4, which had a lot of controversy come out about it. About, oh, look, it's just Ciri. There's no, we want to play as Geralt again and all that. And like, but if you follow the Witcher storyline, of course it's going to be Ciri. That's the way it kind of left off. It's her story on this next game, and it looks really good. It looks like it's going to be a really good Witcher. Now, they didn't really show much. I don't think they showed anything gameplay. It was just a cinematic trailer, but it's a Witcher game. It's going to be extensive. It's going to be long. It's going to have a lot of great side quests that almost feel like real missions themselves. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it because the last Witcher game was just phenomenal. Played up that one and all the DLC that came out for it, and it was amazingly good. Um, they showed one called Split Fiction, which I
Mhm.
think that one comes out fairly soon, somewhere near the beginning of this part of the year. And that one was about you've got two authors, and they're writing. It's in a futuristic time. One writes science fiction, one writes fantasy, and somehow they end up in what's like a, I don't know, it's like a computer simulation, and they're having to fight. The two of them are together, having to work together to get through. Like one of them's a fantasy story, and they're kind of like based on their stories, and they got to fight their way through the story and win at the end to move on to the next one. The next one turns out to be a sci-fi story. The other girl writes sci-fi, so she's more helping that one. It looked like a very interesting gameplay
Mm.
mechanic, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what that one has.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
interesting.
yeah, and I think you can co-op that one too, so that one might be a fun one for us to play co-op.
Like, is it remote co-op or like couch co-op?
I don't know. I don't know if
Oh,
they offer the couch co-op because so few things offer couch co-op anymore. But
yeah,
it would be
yeah,
nice if it did. But we'll see.
yeah. I was just thinking about that because me and my wife are always looking for cute little games we could play together that aren't too overwhelming. Like me and my wife do play games like Gears of War together, and that's like a serious game. But we also play cute littler games like Overcooked and It Takes Two, which are both really fun couch co-op games.
If I
So,
remember right, Split Fiction is made by the same people that made It Takes Two, so it probably is.
oh well, then that's
So
awesome.
that would be really
That's
cool.
Yeah, no, that's something that'd be wonderful. I'm actually write that down so that me and her can be on the lookout for that.
Right? You have to look it up and see when its release date is. Like I
Okay.
said, I'm pretty sure it's at least in the first quarter of game releases this year. Another one that really caught my eye, made by the people that made like Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands, uh, Walking Dead. A lot of those
Telltale
people,
Games.
after Telltale Games closed down, a lot of these people went and formed their own studio. They're making a game called Dispatch. This one, it plays, like a Telltale game, where you go through the world making choices and it affects different things. But you're playing as a guy whose dad made a super suit, so it's all a world of superheroes. So you're kind of like an Iron Man looking character, only he's like a big mecha Iron Man.
Mhm.
But fighting his main nemesis, his suit gets destroyed. So he gets picked up and hired by the group that basically dispatches. You call in like 911 call and you need a superhero. They dispatch the superheroes to people. Like, okay. So, and in return for him working there, they're willing to rebuild his suit for him so he can try to be a hero again himself.
That totally
But
sounds like The Boys.
kind of. But it just looked good humor, good storyline. It looked like a really good Telltale game. So I'm really hoping this flies real well and the studio does well because there was a rumor that they might even make a sequel to Wolf Among Us, which that one it left you with kind of a cliffhanger. So and it was a really good one,
Yeah,
and I'd really like to see a Wolf Among Us too.
yeah, yeah,
And then well, one of the last ones I want to mention is Outer Worlds 2. I don't know if you played Outer Worlds, Mike. I think you did, right?
yeah. A little bit. Yeah,
That was such a fun game.
yeah.
So such good humor and everything. It was really well done. I'm looking forward so much to an Outer Worlds 2. That that really catches my eye. But there were a lot of other games mentioned at Game Awards as well. I didn't have time to write them all down, but these are the ones that really just spoke to me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely playing those.
And one of the last things that caught my eye in regards to video gaming is an article basically going over the idea that for PlayStation 6, which we've talked about with the rumor mill, that there's been a lot of review about how the PlayStation 6 hardware and architecture will have to be. And I say all that in an unfortunate light because just how with this generation of consoles, um, there is this generation of consoles, but they're also having to keep in mind the previous generation of consoles, like um, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, how they're having to make stuff kind of backwards compatible, and it's kind of limiting itself to those specs. They're kind of saying the same thing for PlayStation 6. And while that should somewhat be a no-brainer at this point, um, that is unfortunate news because what that's basically saying is that for PlayStation 6 and as well as the next generation of Xbox, that they're going to be limited by the previous generation. So even though the next generation Xbox and the next generation PlayStation will, of course, it's going to have fabulous hardware and be so much faster and so much clearer and so much higher resolution, it'll still be limited to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And basically, the original reasoning behind that was because of the shortage for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So they were still making games because most people still had a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One. Well, they're bringing that same logic to the next generation, even though hopefully there's not going to be a shortage of consoles then, um, because there won't be COVID, hopefully, or anything like that going on. From what this article has been saying, they've been speaking to Sony executives, and they're basically continuing that same practice, which to me is unfortunate because I would rather just go into the new generation of consoles, leaving the old one behind. But they're going to keep dragging along the previous generation of consoles, which means when developers make games for this next gen, they're going to have to do it at the max specs of the previous generation. What that basically says, in a nutshell, is that when the next generation of games comes out, there's no reason to get the new consoles right at launch because everything's still going to be limited to the previous generation. And it's going to take them a while to get off of those previous generation crutches. And so it's a little disheartening news, but I guess that's kind of how the game industry is going these days, is that they're trying to appeal to both generations of gamers at a time, the previous gen and the newest gen. And unfortunately, that's going to be holding back the new gen technology and the new gen games. And that's unfortunate. It'll be where, the only difference will be a slight graphical boost, but otherwise it'll be the same. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to ostracize, previous gen console players, but it just seems my personal opinion on this is that for the latest and greatest games, that those should be on the latest and greatest consoles. They shouldn't have to write with crayon just to make sure that it can play on previous gen consoles. Playing old games on new consoles, so like playing retro games, and that's not a problem. Being backwards compatible, playing old games on new consoles, that's one thing, and that's actually easier to do than it is to play new games on old consoles.
And if you're trying to boost your console sales, you don't. That was always the reason you bought the next console. I can't play the new Gears of War on my old original Xbox. I got to have it on my Xbox 360. So you went and bought a 360 because you want to be able to play the newest game.
Yeah,
that was just a foregone conclusion of our time. You knew you were buying a new console when they finally came out with one.
Yeah,
and now I like having a good long 8-year stretch between consoles. That way, one, the developers need time to get used to the new console, and two, I need time to build up money again and have enjoyed the gotten some life out of the original console I just bought before I have to replace it with a new one. That was always my biggest complaint about PC. There's a new graphics card 6 months down the road, or a new chip of some sort that makes it so much more superior to the last one. Okay, those things are really expensive. I'm not rebuilding a new PC every 6 months just to have the latest and greatest. That was always the biggest appeal of consoles, which is why I don't think consoles are going away ever. But I do think their price is going to jump up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree to a little bit of both of those. When it comes to PC gaming, you don't have to buy the latest and greatest like graphics card and stuff all the time. I
No.
would usually do it by generation. So like they'll make the 3000 series graphics card, and then they'll be like the 3020 and the 3030 and the 3040.
So
I
you
would just
jumped from the 3020 to the 4020 to now the 50
exactly.
whatever.
And those would take a while because like I think right now I forget what generation they're on. I think it's the 4000, like the GTX for Nvidia. It's like the GTX
5000's coming out soon.
I think
I've seen ads for it already.
So usually it'll be like the 5000, and like next year it'll be like the 5020, and then next year it'll be the year after that it'll be 5030s, and so you don't necessarily have to buy every iteration. It's more, that's more like a micro scale, for computer gaming, PC gaming, but that's kind of comparable to new consoles. It's just
right. It's
only
the generation is chosen for you with the console. You're not going, oh, I'm going to upgrade my graphics card now, like you would in the PC. But you're buying a whole processor PC, basically like buying a whole new PC each time with the console.
Kinda, yeah. But yeah, so that's what's going on, and that's what's being confirmed with Sony, is that they're going to be appealing to that previous generation. So it's not like how we've grown up with, where if you want to play the latest and greatest games, you have to get the latest and greatest consoles. They're going to be still available on those older consoles for quite some time, it seems. So there's really no need to jump ship to the latest and greatest console, which is kind of befuddling to me. And I'm hoping that this rumor that comes from the Sony executives, I'm hoping it's misquoted or mistranslated, because I don't want that to be the case anymore. I want it to go back to, if you want the latest and greatest games, you need to get the latest consoles. Like, for example, if there's a new Indiana Jones game, made for, the PS6 and the Xbox, whatever we're going to call it nowadays, I would want that to be optimized in every way for the newest consoles, not to be like, okay, well, we did some stuff to improve it, like to not
Right.
use all the ability that the technology has. but instead to like
And
handhold the old consoles.
right. And I'm okay with them going, okay, like say Xbox builds their super powerful console they're talking about their next console is supposed to be.
Hmm.
It's the biggest jump in technology since ever. And yes, you can still play in the early years of that console, you can still play on your Xbox Series X. The games that are being released, they'll also play on this. But at some point, and I want them to say it out loud, these games we're going to start making games that only play on this new hardware because they are only going to work on that new hardware because the new hardware is only the one strong enough to run them. At
Yeah,
some point, you are going to have to upgrade, and people should expect that. People wanting their cake to eat it and eat it too all the time, it's just a little much.
yeah,
You can't always expect that Xbox Series X is not going to last forever.
mhm,
At some point, it has to be replaced by the next generation if you want to play the next generation of games.
yeah,
That's normal thinking. It's not abnormal at all. It's not weird. It's not something you should expect. I don't know. People's reasoning on this is often, I don't know, very confusing to me.
yeah.
Their expectations are ridiculous.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can see all the links down below for all our social media, for our website and everything. And you can also see our website, which is where we post game reviews, game releases, and this podcast content and this video content.
Thanks for watching us. Come back and check us out again
All right. Peace.
later.